Okay, so I wanted to show you guys how to make the healthier buffalo chicken dip that I talked about in my weight loss video. And this is healthier because the ingredients have lower fat content. So for this recipe, you're going to need hot sauce, mozzarella cheese, cheddar cheese, 4 of these mini cottage cheese containers, and 3 chicken breasts. For seasonings, you're going to need seasoned salt, garlic powder, onion powder, and black pepper. And these are the 3 chicken breasts that I cut almost all the way through because I just wanted to make sure that they cooked all the way through because they are a bit thick. And here I am seasoning them. I also usually use 4 chicken breasts, but the container that I bought came with 3. I typically buy a container that comes with 2, and I get 2 of those and use all of them, but I had 6 and I didn't want to use 4 and then have 2 left because I'm going to make this again when it's all gone. But yeah, I typically just season both sides pretty generously, even though most of the flavor with this recipe comes from the hot sauce. I just season my chicken generously on both sides. You can also add seasoning to the mixture once it's all mixed up, but I don't do that because this is pretty salty. And here I am putting it in the air fryer. I have it lined with foil just so that I don't have to wash the air fryer because no one likes to do dishes. So I have it on 375 degrees for 7 minutes at first, and then I do that again after checking on them. And for the cottage cheese, I blend it up because the recipe that I found a while ago suggested that you should blend it up. I'm not sure what it's like unblended. I've never tried to make it that way. So every time I make this, I put it in my blender. And after I put the cottage cheese in the blender, I just blend it up for about a minute or a minute and a half, just until it comes out to this creamy texture resembling cream cheese. And in the beginning, I said that I don't use cream cheese, or I think I said I don't use cream cheese. And the reason for that is because cream cheese is typically high in fat and high in calories. And I know they have lower fat options, but cottage cheese also has a lot of protein in it. And I go to the gym, so it's just a better alternative. And it's a lot nicer on my stomach because I am lactose intolerant. Even though I do use cheese in it, it's just less dairy for my stomach. And I still do have to take a Lactaid dairy pill. So after that, I just take it and I scrape the cottage cheese off the blades, and then I put the cottage cheese in the container. I typically use a small square container because the amount that I make fits in it perfectly to where it's not overflowing in the oven. You can use whatever oven safe container you'd like. I did try to make it in a Dutch oven before, but the Dutch oven is obviously too big for the amount that I'm making. But if you're making a lot, then obviously you put it in a Dutch oven or a bigger container. But I just use this small glass container because it's just me and a couple of my family members eating it. And here's me just spreading it out before I add my cheese. For the shredded cheese, I use 1 cup of mozzarella and half a cup of cheddar. And the reason why I use more mozzarella is because the mozzarella is lower in calories because it's skim. But the cheddar cheese is higher in calories. I think the mozzarella cheese is 80 calories for a 1/4 cup, and the cheddar cheese is 120 for a 1/4 cup. But I just do 1 cup of mozzarella and then half a cup of cheddar cheese. And then I put the chicken in the blender. If you're going to use a blender, instead of chopping the chicken up, either with a knife or with a chicken tool to shred it, make sure you do it on a pulse setting, because if you just turn the blender on and let it blend, it's probably going to turn into mush, especially if you put the cottage cheese in the blender first. I typically do cottage cheese first and then chicken because the chicken swirling around in the blender kind of cleans the rest of the cottage cheese off the sides. But see how I'm pulsing it? That's just to make sure it doesn't blend it up too fast and turn it into a chicken puree, because I don't know about that texture. But yeah, so that's how I blend up the chicken. It's just faster than cutting with a knife. because I don't have a tool to shred it. But if you don't have a blender, it's obviously perfectly fine. So this is just me dumping the chicken on top, and I turned the camera on after this. There is more chicken in there, but my arm just got tired and the rest of the chicken wasn't coming out. So after that, I mix it all up just to make sure all of the cottage cheese, shredded cheese, and chicken are incorporated. And then that is when I add my hot sauce. Now for this portion, I don't really measure it out like I do for my chicken. Like I have a set amount of chicken breast that I use, a set amount of cottage cheese containers that I use, and a set amount of cheese that I use. But for the hot sauce, I kind of just eyeball it. Right here, I was just using the rest of a bottle that we already had, and then I opened up a new bottle and added a little bit more. But I just pour as much as I think it needs, and then I start mixing. Sometimes I pick the container up and look at the mixture from the bottom just to make sure all of the hot sauce made it throughout the entire mixture, because sometimes I don't get the bottom good enough. And that's easier if you're using a clear container, but if you're using something like a Dutch oven or any other container where you can't see through the bottom, you're going to want to scrape through the mixture, scrape the bottom, really fold it in, just to make sure that the hot sauce made it throughout. And I typically add a lot of hot sauce because I like it spicy, my family likes it spicy, but this portion is just a personal preference. And here is what it looks like after everything has been mixed and smoothed. And before I even start all of this, I do preheat the oven to 400 degrees, and then I bake it for about 25 to 30 minutes. And you can sprinkle a little bit of cheese on top before putting it in the oven for more cheese and flavor, but it's already enough cheese for me. So this is what it looks like after coming out of the oven, and you can serve it with tortilla chips, any kind of chips that you like. These are the chips that I prefer because they're low calorie, and you get 12 of them for one serving. It's pretty good. You can serve it with vegetables. You can serve it with bread. I've seen some people make sandwiches with it. I've never done that. But yeah, this is how I make my healthy buffalo chicken dip.